Hello, Saratoga and beyond. My name is Dan DeFedericis. I'm the publisher of Saratoga Report. We've got a special interview today. I'm here with Paul Iachetta, who is the COPS Division Coordinator for the United Public Service Employees Union, UPSEU for short. That is a statewide union of public sector workers, not just law enforcement, but all sorts of public sector workers around the state. And one of their locals is the Saratoga County Sheriff's Officers Association, the SOA, and they represent the county correction officers and a few other titles, I believe, in the Sheriff's Department. Paul, welcome, and did I frame that up correctly?
You did. Thanks, Dan, for having me. We represent the correction officers as well as the communication officers and 911 communication officers and a bunch of support staff at the Sheriff's Department.
Okay, excellent, man. Two tough jobs, correction officers with inmates who, and as well as the 911 dispatchers that have their own level of stress and issues there. Those are two really tough jobs that you represent. And along those lines, you are in negotiations. You've been in negotiations, correct, with Saratoga County government for a new contract for the members of the SOA. Is that correct?
We have since August. We're at impasse right now. We're waiting a date with a mediator.
Okay. And there's been some things in the press, some things on social media, and I've seen that, and that's why I reached out to you to see if you wanted to be interviewed on this issue. This is a dispute, right? It's sort of turned into it's impasse is the legal term, but in generic terms, you've got a labor dispute going on. Not a strike, of course, because they can't strike legally, but you've got a dispute. Would that be a fair way of framing this up?
It is a fair way. I think that it goes a little deeper than just a contract issue. There are some other concerns that we have that haven't necessarily been addressed over the last 4 years that are coming to a head right now and causing hardship on our employees.
Okay. And without getting into the weeds, but give me the 10,000 foot view. And my screen just went blank, but you can still hear me, correct, Paul?
I can. Yep.
Okay. Without getting too detailed, can you give us the 50,000 foot elevator ride explanation of what the dispute is?
Well, obviously, first and foremost is the pay and benefits for our members. But biggest concern is recruitment, retention, and the effect it has on our members. Right now, we're working short at the jail pretty much every day. We're getting mandated. We're getting mandated in communications. They're working 12, 16-hour days every day. It's creating a safety issue, and we're not able to get people in, which is causing more stress on our employees.
Okay, and you and I, coming from the police world, know why the excessive overtime, the exhaustion, if you will, creates a safety issue. Could you, for those that may not understand the full explanation of why that is a multiple safety issue, could you just go a little bit into that, why that mandated overtime day after day can be a problem?
Yeah, and particularly on the corrections side, I mean, not only is it an issue that they're working 12, 16-hour days, it affects their mental well-being, their physical health, certainly their home life, but it also creates a safety issue while they're within the facility. They're not reaching state minimums. They're working short every day. So the state Commission of Corrections sets a minimum number of people that you're supposed to have working every day. We can't reach that because we don't have enough people. So we're working, and at times there's 20, 30 inmates to one guard.
That is kind of crazy. And my limited experience with correction issues is when you don't follow state mandates, those mandates are there for a reason, for safety. That's when you have riots, things internally. You can potentially have escapes. Is that correct?
Absolutely. It puts stress on everybody. I mean, you're working short. The help that you may need if something happens is not going to be there when you have less people than you're supposed to have. It happens the same thing on the communication side. I mean, people are calling 911 and they have to dispatch people. They have to do emergency medical dispatching, and these people are working 12, 16 hours, and it's just not a good situation for anybody. And, our issue with that is that the county is really not doing anything to recruit and retain. We've been through this for several years now. We recognized this a few years back. We worked a little bit with the county under a prior administration and made some progress, but since then, really not a lot been done.
Okay, you touched on the money here. What could you touch on what the issue is, why you haven't come to an agreement on the money? Are there no raises being offered, inadequate raises? Could you touch on
No,
that?
actually, we're seeing raises that we haven't seen since probably the 90s in regard to law enforcement corrections. We're getting contracts with significant percentage increases just for that reason, because of the fact that there's a lot less people looking to go into this profession now than there used to be. The lines, the tests you used to have would have hundreds of people taking it. We had 8 take the corrections test last time. 8 people.
Did you say 8?
8 in the whole county.
Without a zero after that?
Yeah, and wow. You know how that works. Out of 8, you end up with maybe 1 out of that 8, right, after background checks. On the other end of it too, we've been on the county, tried to get things going. They're not processing these things as quick as we like to see them process. So when you start this procedure, you're doing your backgrounds, they're taking 3-4 months with a background. And, Dan, in my career, I did backgrounds and it should take a few weeks. So, in that time frame, people are looking for other jobs. People can't go 3-4 months without a job. So I think we're losing people. And then because of the shortness, once you get people in there, they're getting whacked with overtime right away, and they're getting discouraged, and they're leaving the job within. Some people leave the day they start, a few days after, and they don't last because of it.
Okay, and just on the money, and I don't need you to get in the weeds on the money, but could you give us an example or again the bird's eye view of why the money's been inadequate? You said you've seen numbers, so I assume you mean the other units within UPSEU are getting sizable, decent raises, and is the county not? I don't want to put words into your mouth.
Not just UPSEU, law enforcement in general across the state. Obviously in this profession, you meet people, you have contacts, and I can tell you up in Washington County Corrections, they just got a contract recently, and depending on where they were in the step scale in the first year, they ended up in the first year with between 17 and 30%. We're looking at 2% right now. Other counties are passing us. It makes it more difficult to recruit. We're not doing anything to bring laterals in. So yeah, we're getting it all over the place. Warren County's higher than us. They just got a recent contract. They got a bump in their pay. The communications at Saratoga Springs just got 18.5%, probably within the last 4 or 5 months. So people are recognizing that you need to do something to entice people to come into these professions now.
But and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but Saratoga County maybe isn't recognizing that.
No, I don't believe they are. No.
Okay. Is there any hope on the horizon, and then the second part of the question is where does it go from here?
Well, I mean, there's always hope, right? I mean, hopefully that when we meet with a mediator, we can come to some agreement. Right now, we're quite a bit apart. So, we're going to go through the process, and we're going to do what we have to do. We're going to keep getting our message out, and hope to get support from the public, which we have been. It's, we had an event a couple of weeks ago down at Clifton Park Mall. We had an event this weekend at Chowder Fest, and the support was tremendous. And we're hoping that, that spurs the county to maybe look at what they got going there and maybe, work with us a little more than they are. Interestingly too, and this has been an issue, Dan, and I just want to clarify something. The road patrol is quite a bit higher than we are, on average about 12,000, and then when you get rank, it can be as high as 18,000, which is not typical across the state. But in any case, the road patrol just ratified their contract and got a significant benefit to their retirement. They got the 20-year with the 160th. Still going to be ratified by the county. We put that out in a publication, and I think we made some people mad on the road patrol. I represent police officers. My son's a police officer. My nephew's a state trooper. My 2 stepdaughters are Saratoga County deputies. So, by no means are we looking to say that they don't deserve it. They do deserve it. We want them to get it. But, it's at a cost of about $5 million up front, plus another $500,000 each year going forward to maintain that. We're not asking for that much. We're looking to, at least get something that we feel we deserve.
Yeah, and to clarify, the road deputies that you refer to are in a separate union, and they're the ones that just settled the contract. And you support that, but you're pointing out that there was a lot of money spent there. Can you now address the correction officers. Is that
Right, and that's what we're asking, and we're hoping, that the sheriff supports us. He says he does. I haven't seen it publicly yet. We would like for him to come out publicly and say, hey, yeah, these guys deserve it. They do a difficult job. They do an impossible job, really. And we have people with 10, 15 years on the job who are leaving, and you're in the midst of your retirement. You got 10, 15 years to go to get that half pay for the rest of your life. Not a whole lot of people leave with that much time in. We have one young woman who's been with the sheriff's department nearly 10 years who left because she doesn't feel safe in the facility anymore.
Wow. That says volumes. And I did reach out to Chairman Kuzniers. Am I pronouncing his name correctly?
Kuzniers, yeah.
Yeah, but that was only earlier today. They've not gotten back to me yet. I don't know if they will, but I will give him a fair opportunity to respond in a subsequent interview, just like this one, if he does get back to me. So is it the Board of Supervisors that are the ultimate decision maker here?
Well, at the end of the day, it is. But I mean, the way things are in Saratoga County, it's a weighted vote. So I think the bigger towns can control it. I think it's 5 or 6 towns can, because it's a weighted vote based on population, that those towns can control it. And the people on the negotiating committee are from the big towns. So, I think we have 2 from Clifton Park and 1 from Half Moon, which are 2 of the biggest towns, obviously, in the county, who are on the negotiating committee. So, ultimately it's going to be voted on by the entire board. But I think that, the 5 or 6 towns that carry the weight are the determining factor.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you here. That's very, telling. I wish you luck in this. I try to be objective on here, but the fact is, I come from not only police, but police labor, law enforcement labor. So my heart's with you. And I hope you get, and I'm a taxpayer too. I want a contract that addresses both sides' needs. And I think so. It's win-win. So I hope I hope both sides get there soon, Paul. Thank you for coming on here with us today.
Thanks for having me, Dan. Appreciate it.
Okay, and hang out with me, Paul, when we end this here.
Okay.